What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Din Thomas's Fight Court. Obviously, I am not Din Thomas, as you know. My co-host, the man of the show, he is on his way to Vegas. I guess he just landed. His flight got delayed. So it's just me tonight. And we're going to talk about whatever comes up. But there's a lot going on in the UFC right now that we'll focus on mainly. We'll talk about the UFC from last weekend. There's a lot of good stuff that happened in Baku, as well as UFC 317 in the International Fight Week next week. Now, one thing I will start off with is what do you call it? Muhammad Usman. I liked his performance. I thought Mo looked good. I liked how he saw his jab. I liked the energy I saw back. Where's Dean at, Ricky Simon? As I just said, Dean is running late. He won't be here today. He is on his way to Vegas, and he is delayed. His flight's delayed. Actually, he's landing right now, as far as I know. So just me tonight. But what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Mo looked good with his jab, pumping his strike in. I'm happy that Mo looked better. But let's go straight into the main card. Right at the top, let's just talk about Khalil Rountree versus Jamal Hill. Now, I thought we were going to see more out of Jamal Hill. I liked what Khalil did. I liked his game plan. It's pretty game plan. That's what you get with Khalil. Now, I picked, what do you call it? I had Jamal winning that fight originally, and I'm not saying that's a fight that he should win because Khalil is such a beast, but I just felt that adjustments weren't made when things weren't working. I felt that he looked kind of flat, Jamal, and it's not even that he looked flat. And I don't even want to say this as it was more of a Jamal loss than a Khalil win, because Khalil is awesome. Khalil had a great win. It was a great performance. Clearly, he figured out the 5-round issues that people were worried about, like against Alex Pereira. Oh, he's not going to have the win for the 5 rounds. Clearly, he got that figured out, even if it was an issue or not. But I just felt Jamal didn't do much to give him to worry about. And yeah, he was pumping his jab a little bit, but he looked flat-footed. He was eating leg kicks. Landed a couple of his own, but he didn't do anything to give Khalil Rountree to worry about. And Khalil recognized that. Now, it's tough to say this stuff, but I feel like a shutout by Khalil. Okay, I thought Khalil, I'm not surprised he won, but I think a shutout or winning 4 rounds to 1 is kind of a lot. I can't explain it, but 3 rounds to 2 and 4 rounds to 1 in this instance seems like a lot. And I think that Jamal just has some things to consider with whatever he's doing with his training. Now, there's a lot to do. I know that Yuri Khalil is on the table, so to speak. Yuri just got his master's. That was awesome. Congratulations. All right. Oh, yeah. And we're going to bump around the fights tonight, or bump around the fights on the card. Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. Now, Kuniev was training at American Top Team, and I know that trained for Curtis Blades before. I felt that he looked all right. But obviously he made some big mistakes. He made little mistakes that will lose big. And that was the issue there. Obviously, we know Curtis has really athletic wrestling for a heavyweight. He's got really good wrestling. Ultimately, if you get taken down by him, he's going to chew a lot of clock. And that's what happened. Now, I think that in the first round, I get it, some adjustments, although an early takedown was given. And that shouldn't happen either by Kuniev. Now, Kuniev, he kind of just walked forward. But then the adjustments were made. He got the hands going. He was connecting. He beat up Curtis in the second. And then the momentum was going in his direction, absolutely. Then come the third round, he was still kind of doing it a little bit. Then he looked a little hesitant. He stopped giving Curtis things to worry about. I actually thought that he was coming away with the fight up until the last 30 seconds. I don't know why he went for it. Curtis went for and it's 30 seconds. Why would you go for a takedown or a guillotine attempt on a takedown with 30 seconds left, in the fight? Curtis goes for a takedown. Kuniev goes for the front headlock as if to go for a guillotine. I don't know if it was nerves, but he was doing pretty well defending the takedowns, stuffing them and circling away at that point. And he stopped. He stopped doing that. He went for the guillotine. I don't really know what that was. Was he tired? But had he stuffed that takedown, circled out, and landed one or two punches in a combination, he would have won that fight. I really feel he lost that fight in the last 30 seconds. Little disappointing there. Now, all right. Now, there's one fight I want to touch on. Oh, yeah. Nazim Sadikov versus Nicholas Mota. Now, that is definitely fight of the year, one of the best fights we've seen in a while. I actually said on my X account, I said, oh, man, why does this have to be like after the knockout? I was like, oh, can't they just restart it? Because he was so it was such a good fight. It was so shame. And like a knockout happens, but it's like, these guys, nobody deserves to be knocked out in this fight. It was going so well. These gentlemen were bringing it. They were going up and down the body. They were showing really good boxing. They were showing some shoulder rolling, some clinch work. It was a fantastic fight, even though it only lasted 8 minutes or so, 7-8 minutes. Neither of those guys have anything to hang their heads about. I don't think either of their stock was diminished. I think that they both have a lot to offer the sport going forward. Really getting rid of it. MMA Plug, great live listen to you. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Thanks, man. Any questions on any of the stuff, you put it in here, we'll answer it. Now, yeah, that was a great fight. Looking forward to both their futures. It's going to be badass. Way to do well on the prelims there. Now, going up, Fiziev versus Bahamondes. I always mess up his name. Now, yeah, Ignacio Bahamondes. Now, I thought that, first of all, I'm such a huge Rafael Fiziev fan. As I said, he's a short and stocky fighter like myself. However, unlike myself, he's got really good striking. So he knows how to keep himself tight where he's not going to make mistakes. You really got to move him in order to make him make mistakes. That's why I think Justin Gaethje does so well against him, is because Justin, he has pretty good footwork. He punches from a lot of different angles. He's got good striking, and he gives you a lot to think about. I think ultimately that's the Achilles heel to Fiziev, because it's Fiziev, not Fiziev, as I learned. It's the Achilles heel to Fiziev because it gets him to move and it gets power shots, and the volume too. I think that's why he does so. Gaethje does so well against him. Now everybody else, different story. I think that you will see him fighting for the title in the next year or so, especially now that Dustin's out of the way. Who knows what's going to happen with Max? But there's a lot there. Really, it would be an interesting fight between him and Ilya, which we'll talk about Ilya later, just because of the striking style. I could totally see him against Ilya going 1-2, covering up 2-3, things like that. Just that marching, European style Thai boxing, that really tough. But now he was from Azerbaijan, as we know. Fought Bahamondes. Ignacio looked pretty good. I felt that was the best game plan for Ignacio to offer. I just feel that Fiziev is just on another level. I don't really know what I would have changed for Ignacio. He was trying to mix up his kicks the best he can. Kind of scored in some areas, but like I said, against somebody that's so short and his striking style, Ignacio, it's really tough to punch down against somebody like that and not get any damage in return. And Fiziev had it all figured out. He even got the takedowns in when it was appropriate. It was a fantastic performance. Ignacio, I think he bounces back. Maybe he sees where he could evolve, although, like I said, I don't think that there was really much more he could have done in that fight. I don't know what would I have done differently if I was him in his corner? See, he kept the volume up. He mixed up the kicks. When you mix up the kicks against a smaller opponent, you tend to slow them down. He wasn't able to do that much. I don't know, maybe boxing heavy down the middle, boxing heavy and then setting up hooks. But then you don't want to headhunt too much, because then Fiziev showed he's going to shoot underneath things, which is exactly what happened. Tough matchup. There's not much more I would have done. Maybe just be a little more fleet-footed, but he was moving. It was tough. All right. That's really all I have to say about last week. Let's go into this week coming up. First of all, I'm going to say I'm really happy that Beneil Dariush is back on the cards against Renato Moicano. I saw Renato last week, 2 weeks ago at American Top Team. He's looking good. He's looking fresh. I said, keep up the great work. He said, thanks, man. Really happy for him. Beneil's a good dude. He was on the show a while back. Lot of good things to say. He was actually on Fight Week when he was supposed to be in New York too, and then the fight got canceled, unfortunately. But like I said, Benel's a good dude. I love this late resurgence he's had in his career. It's going to be an interesting fight for sure. I think I got to give the edge to Moicano a little bit. I just think that Moicano's striking is a little bit more defined. His takedown defense, although, yeah, he got beaten in the first round by Islam Makhachev, the greatest pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now. I think that he might catch himself, and Benel might be able to get him in some clinch areas and have some success. I don't know. I think Moicano's a little bit quicker. He's going to be able to figure that out. I think that Moicano's a very smart fighter. I think that he's going to be able to play the striking game, create some distance, and be really selective as to when he's going to commit to his power and not just point spar. But yeah, so all right. And then Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. I'm going with Pantoja again there too. I think that Pantoja is he's in his prime. He's at his level. Kyoji got hurt, although Kyoji's they're teammates. We'll see what happens there. I think that's the challenger for Pantoja. I think that Pantoja's volume and activity is just going to be too much for Kai. Although Kai is dangerous, he could be dangerous. He could really get him with some counter punches on the way in. Although I think Pantoja's, he's got one of the best coaches in the game right now in Pahumpa, Marcos Tamada. They're going to be ready for this stuff. Kai's good. I think Pantoja's great. I think American Top Team retains that belt on Saturday night. Now, and then we go up. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Now, we talked about Justin Gaethje a little bit ago. Let's bring him up again. First of all, Dean and I are both in agreement that this should have been Ilia versus Justin. I think that Justin did get on the slide. He was upset, as he said prior. I think that the UFC owes Justin one. He should fight I was about to say Max Holloway. Not Max Holloway. Paddy Pimblett next. I think that that's the fight to make because they owe Justin one. And Paddy needs a big win against the opponent still somewhat in his prime in order to be put in that title contention zone, especially with Poirier on his way out. Now, how does this fight go? Charles, probably the best jiu-jitsu in the game. I want that matchup too. Yeah, hell yeah. Yes, we do. Now, Charles, probably the best jiu-jitsu in the game, no question. Fight starts standing. I think Ilia is growing in all areas, not just his power shots. I got to go with Ilia in this fight. Like I said, I feel like the UFC kind of gave one to Charles here. Even if Charles, let's say Charles wins, just what is the future of the lightweight division with Charles as champion? He was already champion. I think there's more to offer with Charles on the lower end of the main cards than with Justin. I just think the UFC missed here, and I know I'm not alone on that. But how does the fight go? All right. One thing that gets overlooked in the fight with Ilia versus Max is Ilia's ability to adjust. So the fight started with Ilia winning. Max made adjustments. Max, ultimate strategist on his feet, super uber tough. Max kind of gained some ground. And then if you go back and watch the fight, Ilia readjusted. It was one of the best chess matches I've seen in the last year or so in MMA. If you really watch it, go back and they show that this game is chess, not checkers. Ilia readjusts. He puts his foot on the brakes a little bit, moves his head with his punches, hits the hook, I believe it was, knocks Max down. I was so impressed with Ilia in that fight, not just because of the name, but because of the way he carried himself in that fight and the cage poise he showed. The ability to listen to his corner in between rounds and make those adjustments. It was a fantastic performance. To me, his stock rose way up, not just because of the name he knocked out, but because the way he fought. And I don't see anything happening different in this fight with him versus Charles Oliveira. Now, I think that, Charles, I feel like Charles is going to be there. I think Charles is going to be competitive in the first round. And then I think that Charles is just going to be there in the second and third rounds. And I think that Ilia is going to adjust. I think that Ilia, he's going to be a little bit slower to have that momentum given the the grappling of Charles. But really, it's not like Charles has fantastic wrestling. It's really just against the fence that you get hooked up on, which Ilya is really good with cutting people up. That was another thing he did against Max really well. He's really good about not overcommitting against the fence to getting into the clinch. He's really good at making you paint yourself in the corner and keeping himself in power striking distance where it's his fight. You know, he's owning the outside. A lot of fighters, myself included, like to own the center. He's really good. Yeah, you don't want to stand and trade with him, but yeah, agreed, my man. He's really good at owning the outside. You're going to have to come forward on him and open yourself up, and then you're going to catch some damage. So keep your eyes on that. Once he starts owning the outside of the cage, he's going to own that fight. I wouldn't be surprised if a knockout happens within a minute. Especially, we'll see what kind of weight cut Charles is having, although I haven't heard of any issues of yet. I guess Dean could tell us in a little while. Now, what is Charles' keys to victory here? Obviously, take the fight to the ground. How does he get the fight to the ground? So, like I said, if Ilya is going to try and win the cage fight, the fight on the perimeter, how does Charles get him to take 2 or 3 steps more in where he could clinch on him? So much danger there, but that's the way to go, right? If I'm Charles, I'm going to try to bait him in by, throwing 1-2 front kicks, leg kicks, something to get him to prop forward a little bit, something to get him to, I'm winning these exchanges. You have to come forward and get him almost to his zone, and then get him to take 2 steps more forward from where he wants to be. Very difficult to do against somebody that's so disciplined. So how do you get that done? It's really difficult. I wouldn't get caught up in a boxing fight with Ilya in that area. My best bet, I think, would be to honestly start trying to set up some kicks high. Chest, head. Get Ilya to block like this to take away those power punches. And then chest, head, straight right hand, and clinch that way. I think that's what we see Charles do to try to get that, because sometimes you got to take the weapons away as opposed to trying to use them against them. And by getting the fighter to block here, he's not going to be able to launch those punches so well. There was another fight I was looking at here on the undercard, which I think is the undercard. It's also the underdog of the night. I know we don't usually do picks on here, but I really like this one. Oh, yeah, Peyton Talbot's coming back. I think he should come back strong. I think he just had a brain fart the last fight, although my man Honey's looking really good. Honey Barcelos is looking really good his last couple fights. Really happy for him. So I got Jack Hermansson beating Gregory Rodriguez. I think that, we showed that Greg's, first of all, it's minus 198 for Greg and plus 164 for Hermansson. Now, yeah, Lima is a dog. Lima is absolutely a dog. So I think that Greg's gas kind of ran out. He's kind of like RoboCop in there, as we said. Come forward, and Jack actually has a really good stance. He's got a really good stance. He's got a pretty good jab, and he's got a pretty good body kick. All you need is a pretty good jab and a pretty good body kick in order to beat somebody like that. Because the good stance, you're going to have automatic defense against somebody who telegraphs all their strikes, which is what we're going to see happening. Is it going to be a finish? I'm usually pretty conservative with picking that stuff. When was the last time? Let's see. When was the last time that Hermansson had a finish? Let's see here. Decision. Okay. He submitted Kelvin Gastelum in July of 2020. Yeah, I'm going to go decision here as well, just because the bigger opponent, it gives a lot to worry about on the way in. You don't want to make 2 mistakes. And in the game plan I just mentioned, where you got to keep a perfect stance with jabs and body kicks, you tend to be a little selective with opening up. And when you do that, it's going to take, you're playing the point sparring game. You're not playing the finish game. So I'm going to go Jack Hermansson by decision for the underdog pick of the night. So that's what I got, folks. Dean will be back on. We're going to be posting some stuff throughout the week. Really looking forward to it. I know he was sorry he couldn't be here tonight. Thank you so much for joining. Please like, subscribe, and share. Really appreciate all your support. We have over 1,000 followers now. We're really trying to grow. Anything else specific that you guys want to see discussed or broken down, please let us know. We have so much fun doing it. We love our fan interaction, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.